Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. The great physicist Albert Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. He was right. But what he should have also added is that the insane do not have the intellect to comprehend the result. They don't realize they're repeating the same thing and getting the same result. So they don't have the intellect to comprehend the results. And in some cases, they can't even count. I think Zimbabwe, we are in that situation. I've said on this platform that Zimbabwe is a failed state. One of the reasons why we are a failed state is that we have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. There are many reasons for it, and one of them is that the people of Zimbabwe since the late 1990s have risked all to elect the MDC leaders to implement the democratic reforms necessary to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. The country has been stuck with this corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical ZANU-PF dictatorship for the last 45 years. And that has taken its toll. The country is in economic ruins. And we have got a political paralysis. There's no denying that the system has failed to remove ZANU-PF and restore the rule of law. So the party that was elected for that purpose, to implement the democratic reforms to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections, MDC and Triple C, have failed to do so. What is disappointing here is people like Chamisa, the leaders of MDC Triple C, does not even appreciate it. In his most recent posting on X, this is what he said. This is my story. When I've served my purpose and I'm long done and gone, after this earthly sojourn, I desire future generations to always remember and be inspired by our example of unrivaled resilience and unparalleled consistency in the midst of unmerited opposition, unwarranted persecution, and undeserved attacks. And he goes on and on the same vein. God knows how many times people have tried to explain to Chamisa and company that they have failed the nation, even when they had the golden opportunity to do something positive. He still believes that he is on the right track. Hashtag God is in it. ZANU-PF and Mnangagwa blatantly rigged 2023 elections. SADC and the AU, among all the many other election observers, dismissed the elections as flawed and illegal. And yet, Chamisa is the one who was telling his people that the party was going to win big because he had plugged all the court-rigging loopholes. Indeed, we can take it right back to 2008 to 2013, when MDC had the golden opportunity to implement the reforms, yet they failed to do so. What is clear here is that we have got people like Nelson Chamisa who do not even understand what the reforms are about, much less how they are implemented. And alas, they're in leadership position, and so they've been blundering from pillar to post at great national expense. Chamisa does not understand what the reforms are, much less how they implemented. But at least one would expect him to understand that he is lying. That is not rocket science. He said he had plugged all the vote-rigging loopholes to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. And this was not the first time he said it. He said the same thing in 2018. And as we know, ZANU-PF went on to blatantly rig those elections. He repeated the same thing 2023. And again, ZANU-PF blatantly rigged those elections too. What is amazing here is that even then he still refuses to accept that he lied. And worst of all, there are millions of his supporters out there who have been participating in these flawed elections on the basis of these idiotic lies of the opposition winning rigged elections. And when there is clear evidence that he had lied, they still refuse to accept that he is a liar. They still continue to follow him blindly, believe in him. This is the real tragedy of Africa, of our situation, why we are a failed state, why we are in this mess. Here is Chamisa promising the people that Triple C was going to win the 2023 elections. And he was ready to start forming the cabinet.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifoiri. Plan yaMwari haifoiri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
There are a few occasions when Chamisa has been taken to task on his lies. Here is one such occasion when he was taken to task by a BBC reporter.
Ende patakasangana na Trump akatibvunza kuti nawe akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Serious questions were raised about your behaviour in Washington, D.C. You did see some senior people on Capitol Hill, some Congress people, but you also claimed that you'd seen Donald Trump. You claimed you had a conversation with him in which you said he asked you how much you needed to move the country forward. You told him $15 billion, and he said to you that he would provide the money if you won the election. That was not true, was it?
Sangana na Trump akatibvunza kuti nawe akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
It was not true that you'd seen Donald Trump and that Donald Trump indicated to you that he would provide, if you won the election, $15 billion.
All those statements were said by other people, not what I said.
Kasangana na Trump akatibvunza kuti nawe akomana mari yamuri kuda kuti nyika ifambe imari.
Well, no, because there is a video which shows you at a rally in January back home in Zimbabwe saying that Donald Trump had pretty much promised you $15 billion. To be clear, because some people in Zimbabwe are still confused, you're now telling me you did not meet Donald Trump.
We did not.
This is the reality of our politics. We have a leader here who has proven to be corrupt, incompetent, and a liar. It doesn't have a clue what is it exactly that the opposition is supposed to do. And yet he continues to boast about his achievements. And unfortunately, millions of his followers out there believe him. The danger here is we are 3 years away from the 2028 elections. And on the basis of statements like this, he's clearly going to con millions of his followers to participate in those elections, and they will participate in their millions, giving ZANU-PF political legitimacy, and thus perpetuating this nightmare. It's shocking that we have had 45 years and counting of independence in this day and age, the 21st century. And we still can't hold free, fair, and credible elections because those who were entrusted to implement the reforms, indeed, the party itself, the party name, Movement for Democratic Change, promised that they will deliver democratic changes. They failed to implement even one token reform because the majority of them, frankly, they have no clue what the reforms are, much less how they're implemented. And to add insult to injury, millions of their supporters are equally dumb and ignorant. And so they continue to blindly follow the leaders, confident they will deliver the change they're dying for, when clearly those leaders don't even know where they are going. This is Africa's problem. Insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. As a nation, we've participated in flawed elections, so flawed that the only logical thing to do was to withdraw from the elections. But we've been conned to continue participating. even when we warned that if we participate, we give ZANU-PF legitimacy. We have continued to participate, expecting a different result, expecting the opposition to win the rigged elections. That is insanity indeed. And as I've said, the tragedy is the insane do not self-diagnose. The insane do not have the intellect to comprehend that they've been here before, that they are repeating the same thing. At 45 years of rigged elections, we cannot expect to win such elections. They don't comprehend that you cannot win rigged elections. Elections that are so flawed, so illegal, that the only logical step is to withdraw. But that is Zimbabwe. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. And those entrusted with that power to implement the reforms are so totally blind and are so full of themselves. They think they're the greatest thing that has ever happened to Zimbabwe. What a nightmare. Thank you very much. Have a good night.